What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more. You guessed it, r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. But no pressure to do so, only if you want to, of course. And just a huge thank you for each and every one of you for taking the times out of your day to be here. It means the absolute world to me. As I keep saying, in January, I will be going part-time YouTube at some point in January when they hire another person at my work to cover me. And then, it's on. So all your support right now is absolutely amazing, and I'm so thankful for it. So thank you. And let's just get in to today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from, am I the arsehole dad? Am I the arsehole for telling my dad to fuck off and stay out of my life? Some background, I, female 16, am an only child. My parents got divorced and I live with my mum, but I have to see my dad on weekends. I have low pressure, chronic fatigue syndrome, ulcerative colitis and juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. My mum and I have been working on getting me an IEP for years, and I'm in and out of the hospital. I have to leave school for a day every other week to get treatment, and no matter what I do, I'm wiped out by the third period. My school gave me a 504 plan, and that did absolutely nothing, and my schedule got screwed up so bad that I might not graduate in time. I finally had a teacher advocate for me and help me get a meeting for an IEP. The meeting was set for Friday. The school called my dad to confirm the meeting. It was a mistake. They were supposed to call my mum, and he told them to cancel the meeting and that I don't need an IEP. I'm just lazy. He called my mum to yell at her for getting me an IEP, and I answered the phone because she was in the shower. And when I found out he cancelled my meeting, I yelled at him that I'm done with his BS, to fuck off, and that I want him out of my life forever. He yelled back that I'm lazy, disrespectful, ungrateful, and a lot more names. I hung up on him and locked myself in my room, and I've been crying since. My mum's trying to schedule the meeting again. Was I an arsehole for saying that to my dad? Now, just in case anyone doesn't know, because I've had to educate myself on this one just recently, but an IEP stands for an Individualized Education Program. And in my opinion, no, you just cannot be the arsehole in this situation. He's doing something that's potentially damaging your education and your future and your health too. Let's not forget about that. So he is absolutely the arsehole in the situation. And what is he thinking? As a parent, what goes through someone's mind to, cancel that meeting? That's something that's so important for OP. Absolutely crazy. But Tibbletabs1114 says, not the arsehole. He intentionally did something that hurts your education and your health. Hugs for you and hope your mum succeeds in getting a new meeting. And why is every name taken says not the arsehole? He cancelled a meeting that could have helped you a lot in school. And let's not forget as well, sorry, I'm going off on one here, that he called you lazy. Absolutely tell him to F off. And Hilalia says, not the arsehole. Well, I don't think you should talk to anyone that way. The fact that he is completely unaware or denying of his child's medical condition is inexcusable, and I think you're right to not want him in your life. Also, there's a custody agreement that you have to see him get that appealed ASAP, because if you fail to see him in that scenario, your mum could get into trouble. Luckily, given your age, your voice will hold a lot of weight if that's the case. And Magjoy72 says, please have the school document that your father cancelled the appointment and why. This should make it easy for a judge to say that you don't have to see him anymore if necessary. You're not the arsehole at all here. Hugs and invisible disability can be infuriating to deal with when it comes to people like your dad. If they can't see it, it doesn't exist. For me, 10th grade was a wake up with 1 minute to spare into getting to class, 1 mile walk, come home, get snack, do homework, slept until dinner, eat, clean up, go back to sleep, rinse, repeat. Lovely sleep all weekend. I had no life. It was sad and depressing. I had 2 friends, but I made it through. Chin up and get this IEP. Get the help you need so it don't fall behind. Definitely put in the little things like rescheduling tests when it's a day of or after your routine appointment at the hospital. You will perform so much better. And Animan God says, your dad is an ableist arsehole and I wish you the best in securing your IEP. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What should OP do in this situation if the dad is totally denying this person's disabilities and, saying they're just being lazy? How should they deal with it? Let us know in the comments below. Now, just to mention before we get into this next story, there is mentions of miscarriage. So just to give you that warning there and to let you know, the timestamps are in the description if you would like to skip this story. And our next story is from Told Runaway Sister. Am I the arsehole for telling my older sister's husband where she was after she ran away from him? This happened 2 years ago and I still feel guilty over it, so I thought I'd post here to see if I was the arsehole or not. Our mum died when my sister was 19 and I was 10, so she practically raised me. Our dad left when I was a baby. She married her husband when she was 22 and I lived with them until I went to university. Her husband did a lot for us, including making sure my sister could finish her degree, which she had to drop out of when our parents died to look after me. He has one major flaw though, which is he's a workaholic. He got really bad when his father announced he was going to retire soon, and he started actively grooming my brother-in-law to take over their family business. This meant my brother-in-law had to travel a lot more for client meetings. My sister hated it, but sucked it up mostly. When my sister was pregnant, she called him while he was abroad and begged him to come back home because she was experiencing some cramping and she was scared something was wrong. He basically told her everything would be fine and he'd be home in a few days. It got worse and she tried to call him again, but his phone was switched off. She ended up calling me in tears because she was bleeding and he wasn't answering. I was away at university at the time and it took me a few hours to get back home. By that time, she was already at the hospital and knew she was miscarrying. My sister ended up packing her stuff and leaving their marital home after and swore me to secrecy. She pretty much ghosted him. She still talked to me and it was obvious she was depressed, and when I tried to convince her to talk to him or talk to a therapist, she refused to. My brother-in-law was a mess, and after 2 weeks I ended up telling him where she was because I felt sorry for him and I was also worried about my sister. Things were really awful between them for a few months and my sister resented me a lot for telling him where she was initially. But they did eventually manage to work things out. When she first saw me after he made her come home, she said I had betrayed her and she wouldn't forgive me. I've told this story to a few people and the general consensus was that I was the arsehole because I took the choice away from my sister and it looked like I was favouring my brother-in-law. So, what's the verdict? Now Yuki says, you're the arsehole, she made you swear you wouldn't tell. She was alone during a miscarriage, a horrific time for a woman to be alone. He switched off his phone after she called, told him she was cramping, was scared and needed him back. He ignored his pregnant, scared and miscarrying wife for his work. She left because she needed time alone. He left her alone. He decided work was more important than his miscarrying, terrified wife. She asked you not to say anything, she wanted time, needed to be alone, was tired of being pushed aside for work. Pushed aside during an emergency, mind you. You should have respected her wishes after she went through something so horrid alone and ignored. But because her husband, again, who decided work was more important than his terrified pregnant wife, was feeling bad she was gone, you spilled everything. He felt bad because he did something horribly wrong. That was how he was supposed to be feeling. But his feels more important than your sister's request. And Feisty Donkey says, you're the arsehole on every level. If a romantic relationship is bad enough that someone needs to escape and hide their whereabouts, your obligation is to stay out of it and protect privacy. You can't see what a relationship is like when you're not there. You very well could have put her at risk of harm. You may have sent her back into an abusive relationship without your knowledge. I Like to Shit says, you're the arsehole. Just imagine if she was in a super abusive relationship no one else knew about and you basically told her captor where she escaped to. I want you to actually think about this for a second. Imagine how bad you'd feel if she ended up assaulted or even being dead because you can't keep your trap shut. You'd never see or hear from me again. And Cinder Has Fallen says, you're the arsehole, so you're the type to turn someone running away from an abusive relationship into their partner who comes knocking. She went through something very traumatic with her husband, refusing to come home early. You very clearly betrayed her here. And your mum can't get enough says, oh god, and quotes, he made her come home. You're the arsehole, you betrayed your sister when she needed to escape. You put her in danger. She clearly did not want to be in that relationship. And finally, Jellyfish Cool says, sorry to say this, but you're the arsehole. Unfortunately, your sister is right. You betrayed her trust. She swore you to secrecy. You still told her husband. It doesn't matter how you put it that was a mistake. Even if they made up later, she has all right of not forgiving you. Now, what do you guys think of this situation? And do you think OP was totally in the wrong for revealing this information to her husband? Because we don't know what was happening in the background with this relationship. Let us know in the comments below. Now our next story comes from Awkward Ad. Am I the arsehole for being overly snarky to my mother-in-law, making her feel unwelcome? Throwaway as fam knows my main. I, 27 female, have been married to my husband, 28 male, for 3 years, together 5. Right away I noticed how his mother was controlling and intrusive. He had to have a shared bank account with her. If she wanted something done, he complied. If she made a demand, he caved. Now I'm a very outspoken person who doesn't take a lot of crap, so when she tried this stuff with me and I refused to bend to her will, it did not go well. I swear she never had heard of the word no in her life. My then boyfriend started to notice and confirmed he hated how he was living, and I helped him become more independent and confident. By the time we moved in together of 1.5 years later, he had no issue telling his mum no, so naturally she hates me. She is a massive boundary crosser, and while I get some pushback from my husband at times, a civil discussion results in a compromise or him agreeing with me because she's nuts, e.g. the main boundary was no unexpected visits. We left a key at her place for emergencies and she would use it whenever she wanted. We changed our locks and revoked her key privilege, so she stole his keys to make a copy. We changed the lock again and had the key stamped with "Do not copy." She was furious. I explained she crossed the boundary so much that she was now on a 30-day timeout and every unexpected visit restarts the clock. 74 days later, she's off the timeout. Well, with COVID, husband is laid off and takes care of all the house stuff. Easy, no kids, while I and nurse went from doing 5225 equals 84 hours. Now the 2 off are 8 hours and 2 of my 5 off are also 8 hours. I work 116 hours in 11 days and have been for months. I'm dead. I'm now back to taking my 5 days off and got home to be met at the door with "I'm sorry." I look and mother-in-law is there. I ask if he invited her and he says no, so I figure, fair game. Now this day at work had been messy. A man pulled his cath and sprayed me with pee among other things. I need a shower and I say, I'm going for a shower. She scoffs and says to come give her a hug and have a chat first, and I say, Ma, I have another man's pee in my hair, but if you really want a hug, and walked arms outstretched. She just went, ew, disgusting. Husband and I giggled. When I came down, husband mentioned dinner in the fridge and I went to heat it up. She says, what, you're not going to make us dinner? No, and a huge scoff. Well, usually when you have guests over this late, you make them dinner. I just went, oh mum, you're not a guest, guests are invited. And she lost her mind. I'm not coming over anymore, I'm not welcome, I just won't stop by. I just asked, do you promise? And she stormed out. Husband thought it was hilarious. Father-in-law, sister-in-law and brother-in-law thinks I'm a huge arsehole, but I figure you came uninvited into my home, knowing we hated it and expected me to wine, dine and entertain you. This is my house, I'm under no obligation to be nice to you again, cross the biggest boundary we have. But even some of my friends are saying I'm an arsehole, so Reddit, what's your verdict? Now I absolutely love OP's humour, the way she comes home with piss in her hair and then mum turns around and says, can I have a hug? And she goes, alright then, come on in, arms outstretched. I love that. And I think it's absolutely great the way you dealt with it. You wasn't aggressive in any way, you know, you're just sick of this intrusive behaviour and you absolutely have the right to be. And well done for like turning your husband round to and seeing sort of the error of his ways and teaching him to be more independent and stuff like that. It sounds like it really was needed. So that's absolutely fantastic in my opinion. But Mad Max says, I love this. No, not the arsehole. This was very satisfying to read. And Baby Kitten Gur says, not the arsehole, but your husband sure is. He should never let her in the door. Now she knows that if she comes while you're at your work, he'll let her in and you'll end up having to be the bad guy when you get home after a long day. And side note, you should post this in r/justnomother-in-law. They would probably love it. Evening Jellyfish 1 says, not the arsehole. First of all, you're a nurse during COVID. You're at the highest risk of contracting it. It's outrageous that someone you don't live with is coming over and insisting on hugs and visiting right now. Also, she was way out of line for requesting you make them dinner. I'm sorry, she sounds like a trip. You need to tell your husband to put his big boy panties on and control his mother. He can't let her walk all over you like this, and I'm glad you aren't standing it for yourself. If he is really on your side over hers, it's time he showed it. And OP replied to this end, to be fair he does, he backs me up 100% when deserved. But when it's just them, she can still steamroll him. She uses guilt trips of, I miss you, I never see you, you don't involve me anymore, and he always feels awful, and 9 out of 10 will cave. We're working on it. And Nanny Liv says, not the arsehole, stick to what you say and use humour. When my daughter-in-law works a lot of hours, I leave dinner on the porch and text her, not drop in and expect to be entertained. Keep it up, maybe she will learn. And Wombat says and quotes, I just went, oh mum, you're not a guest. Guests are invited. And then says, oh, I just love you forever. Not the arsehole. She knows you've asked her not to show up. She's trotting out that ridiculous old, well, if I'm not welcome when I act like an entitled idiot, I don't feel welcome at all business. And holy cow, you need a break like no one's business. She's being ridiculous diva and I love your response. Now, what do you guys think of this story? Obviously, it's not going to be the arsehole in this case. Come on now. But I do love the story itself and the person's humour. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And our next story is from Quiet Winter Rain. Am I the arsehole for telling my wife, 40 female, to grow up and staying Christmas with our daughters at my abusive parents without her? Wife 40 female and I 42 male, together for 23 years, married for 17. We have 4 daughters together, 16, 15, 13 and 11. Our relationship is good, we don't fight and don't have any major issues. When we had our oldest, we decided we'd stay at home with her and our future kids. It worked well until last year. As our daughters got older, they didn't need that much attention from her. It caused some problems. She was used to being a full-time mum, but our daughters are quite independent for their ages. So she got a lot of free time in her hands and didn't know what to do. We discussed things and I told her this would be a good time to finish her master's degree, but she wasn't very keen on that. So she joined the gym and a few book clubs. Then our eldest introduced her to TikTok and she got addicted to that. She started posting stuff about our private life, but hey, she wasn't bored and she was happy, so I went along. I even participated in a few. Then she started doing pranks on me. It was particularly funny because I get scared very easily. The prank started to get more elaborate. I told her to stop and we had a lot of heated arguments about this. In March, I was taking a bath. She got into the bathroom and dumped a bucket of ice on me while recording the whole thing. I freaked out, got up very fast, slipped and hit my head pretty hard on the tub. I'm a big guy, 6'4", 248 pounds, so it's pretty bad. I woke up in hospital 2 days later. Apparently, I got a hematoma from the accident and had to get brain surgery. I had to stay in the hospital for almost 2 weeks. I'm doing physiotherapy sessions and don't have total control of my left arm. After the accident, the previously good relationship that my wife had with my family, my mum has 3 sons, I'm the oldest and we started dating very early. So my wife was the daughter my mum never had. Took a pretty big hit. They got into a few fights with her and I had to step in and ask everyone to calm down a bit. Onto the issue, my wife and I alternate holidays between her family and mine. One year we go to Christmas with her family, the next one we stay with my parents. This year we're supposed to stay with my parents, but she doesn't want that. My family still makes some snarky comments and my brothers are pretty passive aggressive with her. She doesn't want to go to my parents this year because of that. I told her that I'm going with or without her. She told me I can't take our daughters without her. We got into a fight and I told her that I'm going. She told me that she won't drive me there. I can't drive since the accident. I called my brother and he is okay with driving us there. Our daughters are very excited to see my parents. We got into a fight and she is currently not speaking with me. Her sisters think I am a jerk and that I'm being too harsh on her because the lockdown was hard on her. I told a co-worker about this and he is on the fence. So Reddit, am I the arsehole here? Holy shit, I didn't expect it to go that way. Of course TikTok is involved in all this as well, Jesus Christ. And what I don't get in this is that everyone seemed to totally forget that she almost freaking killed you in this story. That's crazy, man. For internet points, this person almost ended you. It's absolutely crazy. I hate it when people play pranks online, like on YouTube and TikTok and all that sort of stuff, just to gain some internet fame. I find it absolutely insane. You know, a lot of the pranks and stuff, you know, they're set up and, you know, although some people still like them and stuff, you know they're set up, you know both people are in on it, that's absolutely fine. But when the other person isn't in on it at all and she's dumping ice on you, trying to scare you and all that sort of stuff, it's just not on, in my opinion. It's just not fair. It's almost like bullying behaviour in some ways. So not the arsehole at all in this situation. I don't blame you for just going ahead. This is all because of her doing in the end, so there is that. And California says not the arsehole, she has permanently disabled you for views on freaking TikTok. She has to put on her big girl panties and deal with your family being pissed off. Keristasis says yikes, not the arsehole, but your injury was back in March and it looks like the resentment is growing worse, not better over time. You won't solve this by going to Christmas without her. You won't solve it by giving in to her demands. You all might need some couples counselling here. Oboes Hey says, wait, lockdown is hard on her. Almost dying is hard on you. I do question the family get together in the middle of a raging pandemic though, not the arsehole about the post. Stripey Moron says, not the arsehole, what the fuck is wrong with your wife? A prank that left you in hospital. Did she apologise? Did she post a video? She deserves all the anger from your family and more. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Jaded Cryptographer says, not the arsehole, if anyone is being abusive here, it's her. Not just for your accident that she caused 100%, but for keeping you and your daughters from seeing your family because they are, quite rightfully, pissed off at her for almost killing you. Lockdown is hard on everyone, but that doesn't excuse her behaviour at all. And finally, Len Former Examiner says, not the arsehole, why do people think mean pranks are funny? You could have just as easily divorced her and have her charged with assault or attempted murder. Maybe not, but it sounds good. She made her bed so she can lay in it. Let's look at the facts. Number 1, she almost killed you. 2, did permanent damage and you can't even drive. 3, she is upset that your family is passive aggressive over 1 and 2 and does not feel like she deserves it. Payback is a her. 4, I am surprised that your daughters even talk to her. Frankly, if they're on her side, I would recommend separating from the whole lot of them. 5, oh, and her sisters are assholes too. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of the situation, and is there a way to resolve it in the end after she's caused permanent damage to her husband? Wow, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today, for taking the time out of your day. As I always say, time is extremely precious, and for you to spend a part of that day with me listening to these stories is absolutely amazing of you. So thank you so much for doing so. And, you know, if you want to support the channel further, you can with YouTube membership by clicking that join button down below or heading on over to Patreon. And also don't forget, we have the merch, which you guys, some of you guys, not all of you, have been requesting, which again, the link is down in the description below. I hope to see you in the next one, and I hope you've had a good time today, and I will see you very soon. Much love, guys. Take care. Goodbye.